Next up on the list, if I haven't lost it, which I am prone to do, we have Venado, Part 1. Please welcome Venado to the microphone.
Hi everybody, thank you. My favorite type of poetry is epic poetry, things like the Iliad and the Odyssey. And so for the last 7 weeks or so I've been writing one called Perseus and Medusa, which retells the classic tale in my own poetic style. And so I've done, in past events at this venue, I've done all the way up through chapter 10 of my version of the story. I've recited my version. So tonight, I'll be doing chapter 11, and let's get started. Chapter 11 is called Perseus Fights a Dragon. When we last left our hero, Perseus failed a divine test in Egypt. Athena therefore took away his sword, shield, and flying shoes, and sent him to redeem himself by killing another monster, this time in the land of Palestine. We pick up the story as he arrives in the city Joppa, which is beset with earthquakes, wildfires, floods, and the unknown monster, while Perseus has his invisibility hat, the head of Medusa, and a man-made spear. Chapter 11, Perseus Fights a Dragon. At daybreak, Perseus espied the cliffs beside the sea, and at their edge, beneath a rock, a gleaming effigy. He thought, I'm sure that is the statue of a god above. I'll go and see what deity these foreign peoples love. So he approached, and found there not a statue, but a girl. For in the wind he saw her lovely tresses wave and twirl. And coming closer still, he saw the maiden shrink and shiver, as ocean spray assailed her from the sea and nearby river. Her arms were spread and fastened to a rock with chains of brass. Her head was drooping on her breast, and weeping shook the lass. But now and then she cried aloud and called upon her mother, yet Perseus's hidden form her eyes could not discover. Indignant now and full of pity, Perseus drew near, and looked upon the maid whose gleaming skin was black and clear. He thought, I never saw so fair a maiden in my life. Her hair was bluish black, and he desired her for his wife. For I am sure, he thought, she is a princess of this land, and what unholy people would thus treat a thing so grand? She's far too beautiful, at least, for her to die tonight. I'll speak to her. He doffed his hat, and appearing to her sight. The maiden shrieked with fear, and shook her hair to hide her face, unable to escape the chains in which her hands were placed. But Perseus cried, Do not fear a hero such as me, for I'll avenge thy innocence, but first I'll set thee free. He wrested with her chains, but wasn't strong enough to break them. She said, Thou must not touch a wretch so hated and forsaken, devoted as a victim to the goddess of the sea. She'll surely strike thee down if thou shalt dare to rescue me. She'll try in vain. Now close thine eyes, the dauntless lover said. Then, grasping for his cape, he drew from it Medusa's head. He wiped its blood upon the chains, which started to transform, but instantly he tore the snakes before they fully formed. And now, he said, I freed thee from thy doom upon the sea. Wilt thou, O lovely woman, leave this mountainside with me? She only called again upon her family in her fright, and Perseus said, Dost thou fear me still, who ends thy plight? I, Perseus, thy saviour, wish to merit thine esteem. I only seek thy welfare. Please be kind, and do not scream. I know now why Athena sent me here before thine eyes, to win a heart whose worth surpasses any other prize. And then he clasped her in his arms and shouted to the waves, What cruel, unjust goddess sends such maidens to their graves? Beware, I bore the weapons of the deathless ones above. Come match thy strength with mine, or leave this lass for me to love. And then he said in softer tones, Now tell me, maiden fair, what name hast thou, and why would fate have set thee such a snare? She wept and answered, Cepheus my father rules the land, and Cassiopeia my mother wears his wedding band. They called my name Andromeda as long as life was mine, and I was bound here helplessly to perish in the brine, and thus atone my mother's sin, who foolishly once said that I am fairer than the goddess whom our god once wed. Enraged, she sent a deluge, and her brother shook the ground, till all our temples toppled, and our valley all but drowned. And now that jealous goddess sends a dragon of the sea, which rises to consume our blameless citizens and me. For I, their princess, never having harmed a living thing, must now, according to our priest, become an offering. He says that nothing but my blood can purify the sin, which wasn't done by me, but was committed by my kin. Then Perseus began to laugh. A dragon of the sea? Then thou shalt fear no more, for I have battled worse than he. I would have faced immortals to obtain thee at my side. If I can slay this monster, then, wilt thou become my bride? Andromeda looked up at him, and hope bestirred her breast. So proud and fair he stood there, with his spear upon his chest, enrobed in his majestic cape, his muscled arm upraised, his hairlocks twitching in the wind, his handsome eyes ablaze. But then she sighed and said, Why wouldst thou die, thou lovely man, and by thy loss of life sow yet more sorrow in our land? My death would be a noble sacrifice, for it would save my people from the beast that otherwise shall be our grave. But thou art better than us all. Why should it strike thee down? Now save thyself and fly from me. Depart this battered town. But Perseus said, Never, for the gods I swore to serve are helpers of their friends, if from their paths we never swerve. For them I braved the Gorgon. With their help I struck her dead. The same have sent me here to slay this dragon with her head. Yet close thine eyes when I shall vanish, lest thou see her face, and thou wouldst be a statue in my heart with no disgrace. The maiden answered nothing, not believing what he said. But suddenly she saw the monstrous creature up ahead. She pointed to the sea and shrieked, He comes, the mighty beast! At sunrise, as was promised. Go, or thou shalt be deceased. Oh, how shall I endure his dreadful jaws? What awful woe! She tried to thrust the man away, who said, I'll surely go, but promise me one favor. If I take this creature's life, wilt thou return to Seriphos with me and be my wife? If so, then plight thy troth to me and seal it with a kiss. She blushed and kissed his lips, and then his heart was filled with bliss. He donned his hat and disappeared. Andromeda, therefore, stood trembling on the cliffs, expecting death, but now unsure. On came the fearsome dragon, coasting like a giant galley, to overthrow their rivers, shake their land, and drown their valley. He darted forth along the waves and broke upon the shore, to snatch at cattle drinking there and drench his jaws with gore. His scaly sides were decked with seaweed, shells, and salty brine, and water gurgled in his jaws and mixed with spit and slime. He dripped and glistened in the sun upon the tides adrift, while Perseus departed from the beauty on the cliff. He knew his foe must notice him before it saw his lover, but she was dressed in white and would be quicker to discover, for she was shining on the cliffside like a lantern glows, and so he grabbed Medusa's head and pulled it from his clothes. He let a drop of blood descend and hit the rocky floor, aware of what would happen from the snakes he killed before. A viper sprang up from the earth and swiftly grew in height, but Perseus, his spear in hand, repelled its toxic bite. For though his hat was on, the snake, like those among the sand, was quick to learn his smell and started striking at the man. But when the creature grew in size to 7 meters high, its swiftly darting movements caught the water dragon's eye. At once it shot toward Perseus to eat the snaky prey. The waves were foaming white behind as fishes fled away. And as it neared, the hero hurled his weapon through the snake and doffed his hat, whereat the dragon saw the hero's shape. He cried aloud, Behold these eyes, O creature of the sea, and be no more a menace, but a lifeless effigy. And in the hero's hand the Gorgon's gruesome face was shown, which made the giant dragon stop, transforming into stone. When silence filled the cliffs where she'd heard crashing waves before, Andromeda looked up and sought her lover on the shore. A tremble she beheld the hero racing to her side. The beast was gone, and now a long black stone displaced the tide. Who then could be so proud as he? He leapt back to the rock. Andromeda awaited him, her eyebrows raised in shock. He clasped her in his arms and took her safely to the shore, his heart more full of gladness than it ever was before. My bride-to-be, he said, I saved thy life and won thy heart. Be joined then to my bosom here, and never more depart. I will, his lover answered, and she kissed his mouth once more, and sunlight shined above as they embraced upon the shore. Thank you. The next chapter is called Perseus Meets Andromeda. That'll be possibly a bit later in the evening if we had run out of other speakers. So thank you so much.